Hey everybody, Theeohn here. And let's face it, learning Japanese in America is ridiculously difficult and takes literal years no matter what you do, as a hobby or through academia. So what are you doing to maximize your language learning experience? Maybe you have a few electronic devices set in Japanese. You might enjoy practicing calligraphy to improve upon your handwriting. Or perhaps slowly translate a manga you love because the fan translations only go up to chapter 12 when there's a whole 11 volumes of pure comedy gold divinated from the cosmos by a mangaka with one of the craziest sounding names in all of Japan who only wrote the final volume at the behest of a fortune teller, claiming ending it on volume 11 would be the best course of action. And there's only 120 minutes of anime, leaving so much to be adapted still. Sorry, I need more I'm I Me. Maybe you just love listening to Japanese music, but you don't understand the lyrics. That's probably more relatable, yeah. Or maybe you want to know how to make a blank piece of paper go from this to this. Whatever the case, in this video I'll show you how to use song lyrics to learn Japanese in a fun and entertaining way. Personally, I'm a tactile feedback kind of guy, so the good old pen and paper is really compatible with how I enjoy learning things. It's important to keep yourself engaged, as learning a language is best done if you forget you're trying to learn. If you're here and you don't want to learn Japanese using music, well, thanks for the views and the watch time at the very least. Oh, and to be clear, this isn't a video how to start learning Japanese using song lyrics. This is an engaging way to further your studies, but I'll include some links in the description that would be useful for basically anybody learning Japanese. I won't be helping you become a better singer though, that's kind of on you. Alright, for an overview, we'll be going over some general formatting you'll want the paper to have. You can do this with notebook paper, but I feel the spacing is too big, and my personal goal is to write all tidy and stuff, so why am I using such wide spaces on this? Anyways, so what I do is I use some letter-sized printer paper as usual and draw several lines across the sheet of paper. Let's consider this as one row, and it has 4 constituent lines in itself where we'll be writing. If you'll notice, we've got this in 2 sections basically, the bigger areas and the smaller areas. The bigger areas will be where we write the actual song lyrics, Japanese and English localized. The smaller areas will have the kanji pronunciations and the individual English word translations. This main part will mostly have hiragana and katakana, known as the kana collectively, that are the swoopy and stabby characters, and the Chinese kanji, which are the really complex looking ones. And above the kanji here, we'll write down an even smaller text of hiragana you'll use, and now we know how to say this. Yay! With these kanji, I hope you know at this point, they can have multiple possible pronunciations, using either the onyomi or kunyomi, and the first being the Chinese pronunciations basically. There's like 6 or 7 different ones, but that doesn't matter right now. And the kunyomi being the long ago, arbitrarily decided Japanese pronunciations. There's also nanori for names, but that's even less relevant here, and a couple others, but just don't worry about it. So it's almost always onyomi if it's with other kanji, making compound words, and the kunyomi has okurigana for the remainder of the word as shown here, but sometimes not. So very slowly but surely, you'll get used to that, so don't worry about the details here and just try to get those lyrics stuck in your head, whatever song you're writing. Anyways, just below the main big line with the lyrics, we'll break off into each individual word into its general translation on the below line. And it's okay to be literal here, sometimes that's how Japanese is with its phrases. Difficult to explain, but you'll eventually see what I mean, someday. Below that, we'll section off each sentence, and if you'll notice, somewhere here in my pen scratches these weird brackets. They totally help for visual clarity, oh yeah. This second big line, very bottom of our row, will be the English localized lyrics section, and it won't be as literal as the above line with the individual words, because it's not considered when you're studying the individual words as opposed to adapting it to be appropriate song lyrics, if that makes any sense. This method I use feels to be the most streamlined for like lyric memorization, learning new words and phrases, and grammar reinforcement. And with that, we have a whole song written down. What's that? You don't know what song to choose? There's too many. Well, the simpler the better when starting out. I mean, sure, we all want to cha-la or head cha-la with the rest of them, but look at this song. It's basically 9 sentences, and it's much slower compared to the DBZ intro song. This here is It Was Breezing from the Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko soundtrack. Slow-paced song, sure, but start out slow for your own sake. Now let's talk about the structure of Japanese song lyrics. One of the main reasons why songs are a great way to learn is because of the sentence structure. Japanese sentence structure is dramatically different from English, so it's important to understand how it works. In Japanese, a sentence usually happens backwards compared to English, so good luck wrapping that around your head. Basically, the verb comes at the end of the sentence or phrase is the golden rule here. And let's not forget about slang. Japanese slang is a big part of what makes songs fun to listen to, but it can also be challenging for learners, new and experienced. In some fashion, there's two types of slang. One where they won't be singing or speaking in full sentences, which is almost all Japanese music, and the second being actual slang words, or even loan words known as gairaigo by some technicality. It's great stuff when you get it down though. Really fun to experience the Japanese version of a play on words. I highly suggest practicing some of their tongue twisters. And so that's why it's important to have some background knowledge of colloquial Japanese to better grasp what these lyrics could possibly mean, as song lyrics are usually metaphorical in context anyways. So step 1, you open up your internet browser, go to animelyrics.com preferably, and you find the lyrics you want. Jot them down on this first main line here. This line's going to contain all the kanji, kana, and some other things like random English words, things that aren't kanji or kana sometimes, and random punctuation. That last bit is mostly just so you, the viewer, as you write it, can format it in a way familiar, as opposed to how a lot of Japanese uses no punctuation almost all of the time. As long as you get the main sung lyrics text, though, you can manage with step 2 just fine. Sometimes you can't find your song at all, and you have to search it up using the Japanese title and artist name in Japanese text. You can just turn on the kana text type input and jajan, thank you Google Translate. Once you have these lyrics, go ahead and copy and paste them into the notepad or something. You're going to want to be able to zoom in and see the text without any website font messing with the characters. Once you have those, go ahead and find the kana lyrics, which is strictly only the pronunciations, not the kanji included. Rarely does animelyrics.com not have these extra sections, which includes the English translation part. If it doesn't, just go searching around for the kana-only lyrics from some other various lyric websites, or if you're desperate, go off what you hear them singing, use Wiktionary with the kanji lyrics to get the typically used pronunciations and you can jot those down. And sometimes you have to rely on just hearing the song enough to actually be able to know what's coming out of the singer's mouth, because they'll decide to use some crazy pronunciation for a word. Anyways, go ahead and copy and paste the kana lyrics and the accompanying English lyrics in the notepad as well, so you have all your project's information in one spot. No right, if you can find them. Now with step 2 finished, we start the more difficult half of this little project, translating each word underneath the Japanese lyric, and the best of our ability, localized English lyrics below that, because almost half the time it seems nobody has translated the song you actually want. So step 3 here is all about individual words. Sometimes there are extra particles that are not part of the word, but instead give grammatic direction to the prior word or phrase. It's up to you to slowly learn which ones do what, but for this video's purpose, I'll show a few here. English has 0 equivalent of these for context. It's basically safe, but not safe at all actually, to use Google Translate for this part, but honestly, you can use this copy-paste stuff into Wiktionary for some legitimate context on what these kanji and phrases could mean. This is where adding one's own punctuation can really help. Previous experience with where Japanese words and sentences actually end will be really beneficial, as sometimes the singer will have lyrics that just seem to nearly blend into each other, sometimes intentionally, even as a play on words to flow from one to the other, given whatever the context of the lyrics may be. Remember, music is really weird in terms of language usage, so this isn't the place to start learning grammar, but more so appropriate for exercising your own already existing understanding of it. Step 4 here includes the sometimes simple, sometimes not writing down the localized English lyrics you found. If it's a niche song you like and nobody else has translated online that you can see, you can use your best judgment to localize previously translated words for this. Otherwise, if you're lucky and it's already been translated, just go ahead and write them underneath the directly translated words as needed, whole sentences, and maybe section off those sentences with these brackets for better quote-unquote clarity. Now you have successfully turned a normal sheet of white paper into a mess of lines and scribbles. Oh, look at that, it's actually handwriting. Pretty convincing stuff, almost like you're studying something. Do this over and over, coupled with tons of other immersive forms of study regimen, and you too can speak as simply as a 5-year-old child in your target language in just a few years' time. Remember to keep your expectations reasonable with yourself, but keep at it daily. There's plenty of people in the world that will be too hard on you, so don't bother doing that for yourself. As mentioned earlier, links to resources will be in the description below, as well as mentioned anime manga. A few easy song suggestions for starting out would be the Teen Titans Japanese intro song, Loretta, the Japanese version by Ginger Root, The Pillows, they do the Fooly Cooly music, and What's Up People, the second Death Note intro song by Maximum Hormone. Yeah, simple stuff, right? And thank you for watching, subscribing, liking, commenting, stalking from the internet shadows, whatever your purpose is here. Also, be sure to check out the new Patreon I've set up. A mere $3 per month really goes a long way to support more work like this, and better work too. It also grants you ad-free early access to this Theeohn TV, which is obviously real loose at the moment as to what it is, as well as ad-free and downloadable versions of some of my most popular media loops. And your name, yeah, your name will be in the credits at the end of every video. Doesn't that sound great? Also, please excuse the terrible handwriting. I didn't write all of that thinking I'd be showing them to anybody. Best of luck to you with the Japanese, and see you next time.